So, apart from waking up at the same time every morning, what should we think about in the morning when we wake up?
I will tell you, I have 3 things that I ask everyone to do every single morning, and it works quite well. The very first thing is to sit on the end of your bed, put your feet touching the floor, and I want you to take 10 deep breaths. This is just to wake up your respiratory system, kind of bring you present for the morning, right? And kind of clear the cobwebs. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to take 15 ounces of water. And you're going to drink it, okay? Most people don't know sleep in and of itself is a dehydrated event. You lose almost a full liter of water just from the humidity in your breath every day.
Yeah.
Right? So 15 deep breaths, 15 ounces of water, and walk outside. If you can, take off your shoes, put your feet on the earth, and get 15 minutes of sunshine. Now, you're probably saying, uh-oh, California doctor, here we go with all the craziness out there, okay? There's real biology behind why I want you to do this. That sunlight, when it hits your eye, just like we were mentioning before, turns off that melatonin faucet in your brain. And 15 minutes of sunshine is the exact amount of time that your body needs to produce vitamin D. Remember, vitamin D is critical in so many different things.
Yeah.
And lots of people, if they live in a part of the world that doesn't get a lot of sunlight, don't get vitamin D. So you want to get outside and get that if you can. Let's say you're in a part of the world that doesn't get that sunlight. You can actually buy an artificial light box. They cost about $100 US, and you can have that in the morning time, and you can get that, you can reproduce that sunshine. But if you do those 3 things every single morning after you wake up at the same time based on your chronotype, holy cow, you're going to have a great day.
What would you say are some common misconceptions about sleep that are clarified by understanding these chronotypes that you mentioned?
One of the biggest is when people have a hard time sleeping, like falling asleep or staying asleep. When you know your chronotype, it actually gives you a bedtime. And so you don't have to guess. You don't have to try to figure it out. We know when your body wants to sleep. Big problem that a lot of people have, especially people with insomnia, they go to bed too early. Now listen to what I'm saying because it's very interesting. So what happens is they say, holy crap, I haven't gotten good sleep in 3 or 4 nights. The kids are away. My husband is doing something. I'm going to sneak into the bedroom and I'm going to go to bed at like 8 o'clock and I'm going to catch up on all the sleep that I missed. Mm-hmm. That does not work. Let me explain why. So there are 2 systems in the brain for sleep. We've already talked about one of them, which is the one that has the adenosine in it. But there's a second system called your circadian rhythm. That is very specific, kind of like hunger. You notice how you're hungry around breakfast time, lunchtime, and dinner time? Circadian rhythm, most people here in North America, people get tired around 10:30. Probably where you are, people are getting tired around 11:30, 12:30, something like that. So we can kind of shift it a little bit sort of in that direction. And I think it kind of makes intuitive sense that way. But you really want to be thoughtful about keeping that level of consistency, because when you don't keep the consistency, your body doesn't actually know when to go to sleep and when to wake up. It takes about 30 days for it to lock and load, but once you get that in there, your body will start to naturally do that, and then it starts to condense the amount of sleep that you actually need.
Beyond sleep, how might knowing one's chronotype impact other areas of life, such as diet or exercise?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of questions about that all the time. The biggest area that we actually get questions on, believe it or not, is sex and intimacy. So they say, if I'm an early chronotype and my partner is a late chronotype, what do we do, right? And how does that work? When do we have dinner? When do we have discussions? When do we have all of these things? And so it turns out that once you know your chronotype, if you get my book, The Power of When, I actually show you by clock time exactly when to do different things based on your chronotype. So let's take health and let's take nutrition as one of the first things to think about, right? So if you know your chronotype and you understand what your current nutritional needs are, it actually lets you know the timing of when you should have food. So as an example, if you're a night owl like you and I are, we don't like breakfast. Okay. I've never liked breakfast. If I can get a cup of coffee in me, it's a miracle. Okay.
I haven't had breakfast for 15 years now.
You have or have not?
Have not.
Right. Very typical of night owls. So for a night owl, your food schedule, your first meal of the day might be 11 o'clock, right? Might be noon, right? Then you might have, let's say, your second meal probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then your final meal might not be until 10, right? So your timing is going to be different because you're a wolf than if you're an early bird, what I call a lion. Those people, they wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and they're hungry. So they're eating their first meals very early. They're having high protein meals because what are they doing? They're eating and then they're working out almost immediately after, or vice versa. They're working out first and then they're eating and getting their protein. That's what the early birds do. But us night owls, we hate waking up early. We hate working out early in the morning, especially when we're younger. As we get older, this seems to become more and more acceptable, kind of like grandma and grandpa eating a little bit earlier. Same thing seems to happen to us night owls as well. So while it's individual, the book does a great job of telling you what the windows are, for example, for food and even for exercise. So exercise turns out to be really interesting because what we've learned is there's 4 different basic types of exercise that we took a look at in terms of these chronotypes. We looked at cardiovascular, so running. We looked at weightlifting. We looked at yoga, and we looked at team sports, right? Because those are all things that lots of people like to participate in from a behavioral lifestyle standpoint. So then you start to wonder, when should you do this?
Want to learn more about sleep science? Check out Dr. Michael Breus's full interview. And if you're curious, dive into the other episodes too. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.